Alright Legion, I seem to get asked this during every live stream and in the comments of most every video, so here it is. The Advanced Solo Mole Mining Guide. I will be covering a lot of info here and none of it will be the basics involved in mining. If you're new to mining and trying to get a solid grasp on it, I'll link my guide for that in the description down below. For those of you still here, I won't go over all that stuff you already know, so let's get started. First off is going to be your component setup on your mole. Most systems, just grab yourself tier 1 military or industrial grade of the component in question. For the quantum drive, my go-to in the size 2 category is of course the XL1. This is the fastest quantum drive in the game at phase 2 speeds. It does guzzle quantum fuel, as for now it will get you from Microtech to Daymar and back in a round trip of fuel, and you're going to need a refinery stop anyways, so that is the furthest jump you can logically make. Next up is of course your lasers. They changed the laser order on us in the vehicle loadout manager in 3.23. If you're looking at the manager from top to bottom, it is the left laser, the right laser, and lastly the front laser. I will refer to them from here on out as 1, 2, and 3 respectively. Keep in mind that all lasers will be in the size 2 variety, and all size 2 lasers have identical stats to their size 1 counterparts, with the exceptions being that they have slightly better inert material filtering and that their ranges are slightly farther. To kick this off in the number 1 slot is a Hofstede. The size 2 variations of these are able to equip 2 modules and not just 1 like their size 1s, and for this bad boy we will be throwing on a Riker C3 and a Torrent 3. This gives this laser a little more power to crack rocks in the 15 to 20k range for us. This serves 2 purposes. The primary purpose here is in the solo mole setup. It acts as a bridge, allowing us to fracture rocks a tad too small or difficult for the front laser, but too large for the number 2 laser. Secondary purpose is providing extra power when multi-crewed to give the front laser more assistance to fracture while also providing solid buffs. Next is number 2, which will be another Hofstede. This guy will sport a Focus 3 instead of the Riker 3 and a Torrent 3 again. This will give us a significantly larger charge window and also dial back our power just a bit. The purpose of this laser is twofold. The primary purpose of this is a solo mole setup. It allows us to fracture smaller rocks by easing the burden of controlling all that laser power it pushes. The secondary purpose is if people come along, it provides fantastic buffs to support that front laser. Finally, we have the centerpiece. The number 3 laser is a Helix, and unlike the Hofstedes, this puppy can take 3 modules. We are going straight for raw power here, 3 Riker C3s and a Stampede as a stock loadout. I think Stampedes are great and I would recommend putting 3, but you are unable to activate all 3 of them simultaneously like the Surges. This setup gives us a constant 50% increase to our laser power with the ability to increase it an additional 35% with the Stampede. This will allow you to fracture rocks up to the 30-35k range. This rounds out our build nicely by giving us the ability to tackle small, medium, and large rocks simply by changing seats. When you head out in your mole, you will also want to take a few items with you. I like to bring 6 surge modules inside my mole to make 2 complete sets. 1 complete set of these on the Helix can bust a 55 to 65k rock, depending on the rock stats and if the server wants to cooperate. I also bring a spare Stampede in case I burn through the one that I have mounted. Keep in mind that if you want to swap modules out in the field, you will need a tractor beam type tool, and remember to turn off ship ports using right Alt K to remove components like modules. Another useful piece of info is that if you completely burn through a module's uses, it can be repaired at a landing pad for the same price as buying another module, so it saves you a couple steps of having to add it on. Next are mining gadgets. Each gadget arguably is pretty effective and each has its own place in the mining gameplay loop. Take one of each with you if you like. These are really handy when you find a rock you really want and just want to make it a bit easier to break. I'll go over how to use these in a bit. With our mole all set up, it's on to tips and tricks for normal operations. When you approach rocks, you may have run into an issue where you find yourself constantly repositioning your ship. Well, I have a fix for that. Pull up to a rock and get pretty close, not right on top of it, but uncomfortably close. When the distance meter is actually working from the pilot's seat, 45 to 50 meters is the distance that you're looking for. Tilt your ship upwards so that the rock sits a little below the bottom of your windshield. This is perfect position for the Helix laser more often than not. This also plays into the strengths of our build because the rear lasers and the front lasers optimal ranges almost perfectly line up in this setup. By parking this way, we're taking advantage of our laser's field of view. All turrets have a free 180 degree view towards the front from left to right. However, it can only look up to be level with the ship, while being able to look down at about a 70-degree angle. This means that we don't want our ship pointed directly at the rock because we can't look any higher. When taking ladders in the mole, make sure to walk down backwards to avoid the climbing animation. Be warned that falling all the way down the front laser will cause about 1 or 2 points of health damage. This can be avoided by simply grabbing the ladder just before the bottom. Anytime you exit the mole, it is a couple seconds faster just to walk out the side turrets, then wait for the elevator to go down. The fall here does not cause damage, oddly enough. If you're exiting the mole with the intent to get back in, like on a planet, press the elevator button before exiting. This way, when you return, the elevator is already down, you don't have to wait. One of the main reasons you may be doing this is to attach a mining gadget to a rock face. You can equip these on the bottom of backpacks to retrieve like any other utility item, or simply place it in your hands. When the personal inner thought menu actually works for this, you would select place. However, it is not working currently. A workaround for this is to hold Y and click the top right where it says detach twice. This will open the gadget and give you an outline of it on the rock. Place it where you can easily access it and it will calibrate. All these generally look the same with just different colors. To activate it, you will need to match up the wavelength. Do this by adjusting the 3 sliders until it reaches 90% and press activate. It will begin flashing green to be easier to see from the ship. And no, for all you perfectionists out there is no difference from 90 to 100% in terms of effectiveness. Once you fracture the rock, these automatically fall off and blink red for retrieval and future use. Bear in mind that only 1 gadget total can be used on a rock at any given time. Whoa, hey now. I interrupted this video at a completely random time to ask you to drop a like, and if you found this video minorly useful, subscribe. Maybe the next guide I roll out is exactly what you're looking for. Anyway, back to the video. When it comes to mining, I believe you have 2 categories of miners. I call them volume miners or value miners. Volume miners are focused on speed and are not very particular. They will suck up every ore they find until they are full and they are on their way back to the station. Value miners are just the opposite. They prefer to avoid a lot of junk in their bags to bring back the absolute best haul they can. I believe both of these are pretty valid ways to play. Personally, I'm a value miner, and if you'd like to try this out, then typically you want about a 40% or greater portion of a rock you're extracting to be high value ores. This can be of course much higher for you, depending on how much time you want to spend. Anything less than that, you're simply skipping over it. This method takes a bit longer, but your loads are much more valuable. To give you some context, 96 SCUs of barrel will net you about 240k, and 96 SCUs of backslide will run you about 750k. Lastly, we'll go over some of the refining stuff. When heading back to the refinery, don't worry about slowing down. Stay in nav mode and absolutely gun it towards the station. When you're pretty close, switch to SCM mode and your space brake will bring you to a halt almost instantly. It's pretty nice. If you have Quantanium on board, be sure to store your ship as it halts that 25-minute timer. For refining methods, I prefer to stick to Ferron Exchange and Dink Solventation. These are both decently pricey. Ferron Exchange will run you twice the price of Dinks, but complete your order in a third of the time. But these do offer you the highest possible yields. The other methods can be much faster or even cheaper, but you will not get as high of a yield from them. Even as a value miner, I still refine the cheaper ores too. Sure, they don't go for much, but since they only cost like 200 to refine and will pay me possibly 10 to 20k, that's a worthwhile investment. I'm sure many of you out there have great tips and advice, and I'd ask that you drop those in the comments down below to help out the community and share your experiences with your fellow citizens. And that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Best of luck to you guys out there in your adventures, and I'll see you all in the next one.